They don't get any better than that, man. And look, you remember our parents used to say, "What was that? What's that bullshit y'all listening to? That shit." They be like, "Ain't nothing like our music." Well, we say the same thing, and but what we say is, "Yeah, you're right. Ain't nothing like that music back in the day. We still play it today." Hip hop is based off of that old school music. They call it digging in the crates. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're going to continue this thing. We're going to talk about securitization, recoupment, consumer credit, retail installment contracts. I'll get into, some other things I'm going to start off with. But, we got to do our stream segment, man. This is what we call the stream segment, or we go ride down Stream Ave/Boulevard. Appreciate everybody being here, listening, who's going to be listening later. All right, let's go. I can still tighten up my presentations and make sure everything lined up. Let's go.
Let me make sure they're good and seasoned. Oh, yeah. Harris Famous Gulf Shrimp right here in Chi-Town. She's the owner. She putting it down. She know what she's doing.
You're tasting my late mother-in-law's recipe, who was from the Louisiana, Texas area, and that's why we call them Harris Famous Gulf Shrimp.
Yeah, we're going to let them get a little bit done. We're going to bring tender to the bone. Yeah, we want to ride. We got flavor there.
And I know that's what you like. Mm-hmm. And then that's the side. It comes with fries or spaghetti, but that's our homemade bell pepper and onion and special sauce of spaghetti.
You made this go.
That's a family recipe too. You remind me, when I first saw you on the internet, I said, this is reminding me of my late husband. What you do with barbecue, he does with shrimp.
This is tender nizzle. Then you see me with the shrimp, some shrimps tender nizzle. That's what I'm talking about. Booyah. Let me make sure they're good and seasoned. Oh, yeah.
Idea. All right, so brace yourself. This is some other stuff. Let me throw this in. When I see wild stuff like this, I say, you know what? I don't even want to play this on the stream. I say, you know what? Let me play this one.
Do you know who these two are? Do you know who this couple is? Even when I tell you, most of you won't be able to accept it. Comment below if you think you know, but don't cheat. You were told there was a debate on whether or not the gods exist. In fact, you were told there's no point in even arguing that. You can only argue about one god, that all the other gods are just foolishness or paganism of savage fools, or maybe even demons, but you were told wrong. You have 3 more seconds to type who you think these two are below. 3, 2, 1. Pause if you need to. This is the goddess Asherah, and this is the god Yahweh. But how, some of you are wondering? Well, this is concept art from an ancient depiction of Yahweh and his wife called Kuntalet Ajrud. Why did they not teach you this? That's because many don't know that these gods are more real than you could have previously imagined. I have a question for the Christians, the Jewish, and the Muslims watching this. Do you believe in the scripture or your religion? You see, the Old Testament and even the New Testament is not monotheistic, but your religion is. There's a multitude of gods in the Old and New Testament. There's the Most High, El Elyon, who was originally seen as separate from Yahweh. There's Jesus of Nazareth, Yeshua, who claims to be a god in his own right. And then there's the other divine beings that's spoken about in the Bible, Asherah, Thou, and such. But then you have the council itself. You've been tricked, and I have the proof. Let's go to the Dead Sea Scrolls. You have to understand, it's not about the oldest Bible you have. It's about what manuscript does that Bible use, right? These are manuscripts. The Dead Sea Scroll and the Masoretic text, the Dead Sea Scroll is much, much older. And it says, when El Elyon, the Most High, divided the nations, he fixed boundaries according to the number of the sons of God. Meaning the gods, by the way. Son, Bene Elohim means the gods, just as the son of men means humans. Masoretic text says, when the Most High divided according to the number of the sons of Israel. So they were editing this thousands of years ago. Again, this is based off this ancient art. This is Yahweh and this is Asherah. These are older than all of your Bibles. You're under a spell, and I don't mean hocus pocus. A spell is a story, a repeating narrative that shapes your subconscious beliefs, builds your internal matrix. Spell comes from the word spell, which means narrative, story, command. It's time to break it. You need to read this book, World War Gods, a biography of Yahweh. The audiobook will be free for 7 days. The link is in the top of the page. You have...
Interesting, huh? Interesting. I'm still in this one right here. This one right here. Make watermelon. Man, if I can make some watermelon, I don't need nothing else to do in life.
Leaves and rich soil. After planting watermelon, I covered everything with old wooden pallets. The pallets keep the melons clean, improve airflow, and help keep the fruit off the ground. A few months later, look at this harvest. Who knew kitchen waste could grow giant watermelons? Most people throw their kitchen scraps in the trash. I buried mine instead. First, I dug a shallow trench beside the fence. Then I filled it with food scraps, dry leaves, and rich soil. After planting watermelon, I covered everything with old wooden pallets. The pallets keep the melons clean, improve airflow, and help keep the fruit off the ground. A few months later, look at this harvest. Who knew kitchen waste could grow giant watermelons?
Yeah, that's crazy. Just like that, huh? Just like that. All right. We'll see about it.
We want to remember this. Plant scallions next to cucumbers and insects will disappear. Plant chili peppers next to corn and they'll be sheltered from the wind and rain. Make tomatoes and lettuce your friends and diseases will avoid them. Nest garlic with cilantro and insects won't dare to come near. If you can't remember these, remember to save, like, and follow gardening hacks. Chili peppers love white vinegar water. Tomatoes love brown sugar water. Chinese chives thrive on apple-infused water. And loofahs are watered with rice rinsing water. Like and follow if you want to remember this. Plant scallions next.
Hold on, we gotta play this again. Hold on. Gotta play this again. Gotta get it right.
Next to cucumbers and insects will disappear. Plant chili peppers next to corn and they'll be sheltered from the wind and rain. Make tomatoes and lettuce your friends and diseases will avoid them. Nest garlic with cilantro and insects won't dare to come near. If you can't remember these, remember to save, like, and follow gardening hacks. Chili peppers love white vinegar water.
Chili peppers love white vinegar water. Tomatoes love brown sugar.
Tomatoes love brown sugar water.
Tomatoes love brown sugar water. Dang.
Chinese chives thrive on apple-infused water. And
apple-infused water.
Loofahs are watered with rice rinsing water. Like and follow if you want to remember this.
Man. Okay. All right, we're taking a turn.
All from Warren. He's
new evidence presented today, these three white boys should, with the new evidence presented today, these three white boys should be arrested by end of day.
So when I received the phone call from Warren, he's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it, and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
It wasn't like they said, we got his phone, they tracked it.
If you call someone's mama to tell them that their son is missing while having that missing son's phone in your back pocket, and you don't tell her that you have his phone, that's grounds for an arrest. We also have confirmation that the voice heard on that viral video is Nolan's voice saying, "Give me back my friggin' phone."
And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" And so then his phone ends up missing.
We also have confirmation that Nolan's Snapchat was deleted.
When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos. Like, there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious.
And we also now have confirmation that Jax was hiding Nolan's car keys in his house.
I'm Nolan's father. I'm here to get his keys so I can get his car. He walks off, 2 or 3 minutes, come back. I can't find the keys. One of the guys that was in the house with us, he was on the phone with a girl, and the girl told him that Nolan's keys were on top of this Jax guy's Xbox in the house because apparently she was there with him earlier. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and 5 minutes later, the keys come out. So now I feel like you done lied to me.
Oh, and it doesn't stop there. We also have witnesses that say the boat was at the judge's house in the middle of the night getting cleaned, and the family of these 3 boys were out eating the night after Nolan went missing and the day after Nolan went missing. Make sure you check it out if you want more details. Link in bio. And by the way, shout out for the independent autopsy of Nolan Xavier Wells. With the new evidence.
Taking the turn.
Texas, it's also considered as a Indian reservation. My grandma, one thing with my grandma on my mom's side, last name's Washington. You know, she said, I remember when Jesse Jackson had announced that, oh, we from Africa, all that stuff. My grandma was pissed. My grandma, you see how the flyer was? My grandma was pissed.
Wow, she was pissed when people would say you're from Africa?
When he said that, because he went public, he was the one that pushed that agenda.
Who is he?
Jesse Jackson.
Okay.
But I remember sitting on my great grandmother's porch with my grandma and my cousin Renoya, and she was like, "Don't you ever say that you African American."
Yeah, why is that?
She's like, "Don't you ever say you African American. Just remember that you some type of Indian." And so at this time, I'm in 5th grade. I'm at Glenmore, so I'm going back to school. I went straight back to school that next day, and questioned my history teacher. You know, these Indians are Spanish looking color, but that's what you say. But in the book that you're giving me, they're my color. So make it make sense. So when I went to school, I looked in the back of the index. My grandma told me we were Blackfoot. Blackfoot is a mixture tribe of Cherokee and Apache Indians. Whenever they captured them, they put them together. And they had crossbreed. You know, some of them crossbreeded with one another. So they created the nation called Blackfoot. I'm from San Angelo, Texas. It's also considered as a Indian reservation. My grandma, one thing with my grandma and my
Interesting. Taking a turn.
The Supreme Court straight up nuked the government's power over this trust. The Supreme Court, Elliott versus Freeman, 1911, straight up ruled that the trust isn't a corporation, it's not a partnership, and it's not under legislative control. The Supreme Court held that the trust is based under the realm of equity. It's based on common law, and is not subject to, and I repeat, not subject to legislative restrictions, as are corporations and other organizations that are created with legislative authority. What does that mean? No statutes, no regulators, no handcuffs, just pure private lawsuit-proof power. Now, wouldn't you rather have something like that to run your business through or to hold your assets in, than an LLC or a corporation, which are corporate slaves? I think you would. I don't know why you wouldn't, but here's what I want you to do. Save this video. It's very important. Share it to whoever you think could use it, and reach out to me, and we can set up a call, and I can tell you all about this and how we can help you. The Supreme Court straight up.
Nah, I'll pass. Don't need your help, buddy.
Probably one of the most shocking things I ever heard. It came from my insider, Jacob, I call him that in the book, who actually was working for the Rothschilds and still does, and also is a whistleblower who doesn't really do what they want, but continues to work for them because he feels like there's some very serious extraterrestrial threats to Earth, and that what they're doing is very necessary to protect us. So the story goes that in the 1960s, there was a black man in Africa who came in with abilities complementary to those of Jesus. And he was performing miracles. He was starting to get people to listen to what he had to say. And the cabal tried to kill him. And, they could shoot him in the head and his skull would just regenerate and the flesh would grow back, and he was fine. And, so the crazy story that I heard, which, and remember, I was told at the time that if I disclosed this, that I would be killed. And I ended up putting it in the book anyway. The story was that this guy, they finally said, okay, we're going to bring you to the United Nations and share your message with the world. Let's get you on this flight. They bring him on this flight. And instead of bringing him to the United Nations, they shot him repeatedly, and then actually had some kind of meat grinder device, and basically like a bandsaw, I guess, and sawed up his body into a whole bunch of pieces, put him in these very like radioactive shielded containers, and then had all these fighter jets dock with the plane and fly his body parts to all corners of the world, where then these containers turned them into ash. And they thought that maybe this would defeat him, like that his body somehow, the tissue was necessary. So if they destroyed all the tissue in all these places across the world, maybe they could defeat him. Well, he then regenerated in their offices and was fully fine, fully intact. But the sad part is that he said, you guys so badly do not want me to be here that I am not going to be able to do any more. You're going to get what you want, but bear in mind that in the future, many others like me will be coming, and when they do, you will not be able to stop us.
Wow.
Wild. He said, wow. I say, wild. All right. We're getting into the build.
Today's word of the day. Today's word is just slightly different. One of my viral videos, we talk about the word person and how when you're a mother giving birth, you and the father do not actually sign the birth certificate as a mother and father. You're actually signing it as an informant, okay? But I will never take you to the fire and not walk you through it, so don't fret. However, my name is Sensei Monet. I am not here to give you legal advice. I am here to remind you of your rights, because if you don't use them, you have none, all right? And ignorance of the law is no excuse, guys, all right? So by now, you should know that the word person in law does not mean the living, breathing human being, okay? The word person means a corporation, a trust, or an estate. So me, Sunset, the living, breathing human being, technically cannot do business on paper with a corporation, because a corporation is a dead entity. All right. So moving forward, because we know a corporation is a dead artificial entity, meaning even in its word, court, right? We got to start breaking these words down. Corp itself means dead, don't exist, all right? So you ever wonder how they link you, the human being, the living, breathing human, to that dead entity, right? You should be asking yourself that question. Well, guess what? It starts with the very first document you ever signed. I'm going to give you 2 seconds. That's enough. No more seconds. I can't. Y'all gotta get with the program, all right? You guessed it, the birth certificate. Okay, that is the first document you signed where you gave away your rights to the government. And now they gotta help you do everything. They gotta set up everything for you, and you gotta live and breathe under their jurisdiction because you gave them the right to do so when you signed this. Okay? And you know I'm never going to tell you something and not give you the codes where to look it up. So under 1 USC Code 8, the human being, the child, okay? The human being, the child, the individual, including born alive infants, right? In determining the meaning of any act, okay? When determining the meaning of any act of Congress or ruling, regulation, or interpretation of the various administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States, y'all. So that means any time in any statute, rules, laws, regulation, where they're mentioning the word child, the word individual, or the word human being, right? I'm going to keep going. The word person, human being, child, individual equals or shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapien that was born alive at any stage of development. They don't care what time you was born. They don't care how small you are, how big you are. This matters. Sunset, how does this tie into the word child? I'm walking you through it. So you just saw that by law, they are considering whether you're a child, an adult, or whatever, because in your head, remember, I'm not talking about your understanding of the word. I'm talking about when it pertains to the law. So when they're it's your girl Sunset Monet with today's word of the day. Today's word is just slightly different. One of my viral videos, we talk about the word person.
Woo, she got a lot of energy. Information. And that's just what it is, information, research. You know, these type of videos are most important because a lot of that stuff has been done. And this is why I say that these states have always been adverse to us, right? So, you know, they've been, I got my little golden dollars in the background, you know what I mean? We on our Fort Knox. So, you know, we look at it as, well, I look at it as the most important thing. A lot of things need to be corrected. They need to be corrected. They need to be put out there because I didn't know anything about this. You know, they said this happened in 2023. And, you know, I ain't heard nothing about it. This is what I'm saying about the media, about how this system is working. They don't talk to our people about what is actually being done. I mean, that's a great thing. I don't even think anybody even knew about that story. Maybe people that are from Houston know that story and probably have some relatives in that. But, you know, those things should be public. But nevertheless, you know, so what we're going to do is we're going to get into this other video. This guy, Mark Levin, he be on Fox News. He actually brought stuff up. If you ever see the some of the icons I put up with that says the law up there, I actually got from him. He's a constitutionalist, and he has great information. What's going on, Shaq? Yeah, he's a great constitutionalist, and he has good information. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this guy up, let him talk a little bit because the information that he brought up was important. I was supposed to play it yesterday, but I forgot to play it, so I just said let me just share it today. what I'm going to do is, let me do the entire screen. Let me share the entire screen. Let's bring 11 up. And let's hear what this guy has to say.
I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Welcome to the program. Our constitutional construct is under a lot of attack by the so-called Democratic Socialists of America, which appear to represent about half the Democrat Party at this point. Of course, we know that they're Marxists and Islamists and basically miscreants and malcontents who hate America. And they have found a home in the Democrat Party.
Now, this is going to be an interesting part because I'm going to go to my, that encyclopedia on American Indians' contributions to the world. So just keep this in mind, what he just said. All right, this is how he's opening up. So that first part, I paused it. So keep that in mind.
Oh, there's some resistance to the Democrat Party, but barely. And we conservatives, we have a problem too. The woke right neo-fascists who want to destroy our way of life, they have a lot more in common, I will argue, with the Marxist Islamists than they do with constitutional conservatives. And we'll prove that over the course of the program and over the course of this program in the future months as well. But let's begin. It's something very interesting. These people want to eliminate the Electoral College and the Senate, among other things. Do you know what the Electoral College is? Do you know why we have an Electoral College? Do you know why we have a Senate, a bicameral Congress? They want to eliminate a bicameral Congress and just have a House of Representatives, basically a parliament. And they want to eliminate the Electoral College, so it's just majority vote wins. That's not exactly a brilliant idea. Why do you think the framers looked at that and rejected it? Why do you think the framers looked at parliaments and rejected that too? To protect you, the individual, so we would have harmony and unity in this country. And let me explain.
Now, we're pausing it right there because it said you, the individual. Now, if we go back to the other videos that we've done, the presentations that I made, I showed you what a person was. First thing is an individual. And remember, in the 1040 tax return, the 1040 tax return is titled Individual Income Tax Return. All right. So just keep all these things in mind. These words that he says, I'm going to pause so that way we can catch them as he keeps going.
The Electoral College is a brilliant invention. It had nothing to do with slavery and slave owners. What happened? Well, you had states coming together to fight the British, right? Independence Day, we just had that on July 4th. Well, they're little states with smaller populations and bigger states with bigger populations, just like there are today. And so these little states said, why would we become part of a national government where the power would all go to these major metropolitan areas in New York, in Pennsylvania, even Virginia? We're not going to do that. And so they had to have a compromise. You see, even though there are some states that are big populations, they feed us. They grow wheat, they grow corn, they raise cattle, and sheep, and things of that sort. And so we need to take that into consideration. So the Electoral College was invented. What's the Electoral College? Well, the Electoral College is based somewhat on the fact that we have a Senate. Well, what do we need a Senate for? Because back then the belief was the states needed to have some representation in the national government. Until, of course, we passed the 17th Amendment during a populist era under Republicans. And we eliminated that idea of the Senate. But we still have 2 senators from every state, no matter what the population of the state is. We have 2 senators from Delaware. We have 2 senators from California. We have 2 senators from Rhode Island. We have 2 senators from New York. We have 2 senators from Montana and North Dakota and South Dakota and Wyoming, states with very small populations. But what is that all about? because they need representation too. So we have a House of Representatives based on the popular vote, but we needed a Senate. We needed a Senate to sort of even things out. And so we have a Senate, and then we have an Electoral College. So the Electoral College does this. If you have 2 senators, you get 2 Electoral College votes right off the top, Delaware. But you also get Electoral College votes based on your members of Congress. How many do you have based on the population? And so Delaware has 3 Electoral College votes. They have 1 congressman and 2 senators. But California has a whole lot of Electoral College votes because they have a whole lot of representatives, because it's a big populated state, plus the 2 senators. This was genius. Now, what if we eliminate the Electoral College vote and it's just the popular vote? Well, about 12 states will call the shots. 12 of the most populated states, and within those states, the cities will call the shots. In other words, it's a Democrat Party dream to destroy our constitutional construct so rural voters and expert voters don't have a say. And certain states don't have a say. So we won't have battleground states. We won't have battleground anything. Candidates will basically campaign in 12 states. And the cities, the urban areas, the metropolitan areas will have the biggest say and the most power. So it won't really be a popular vote, even though everybody will go and vote. There'll be an enormous number of people who will be excluded from the process. An enormous number of states that will be excluded from the process. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. The Senate is in charge of determining whether treaties are going to be treaties or not. The Senate is involved in the appointment process with a president of the United States. What the communists want is, in the first place, mobocracy. Rule by...
Interesting. He does a presentation on mobocracy. Who was just wasn't somebody just talking about mobocracy? Oh yeah. Yeah, that guy.
By the mob, where the individual of the United States, the Senate is in charge of everybody's. So we won't have battleground states. We won't have battleground anything. Candidates will basically campaign in 12 states. And the cities, the urban areas, the metropolitan areas will have the biggest say and the most power. So it won't really be a popular vote, even though everybody will go and vote. There'll be an enormous number of people who will be excluded from the process. An enormous number of states that will be excluded from the process. That's why the communists want to get rid of the Electoral College. That's why they want to get rid of the United States Senate, because the senators obviously are counted for purposes of the Electoral College. They also want to get rid of the United States Senate because it slows things down. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. The Senate is in charge of determining whether treaties are going to be treaties or not. The
Senate. All right, keep that in mind. Treaties, Senate.
Senate is involved in the appointment process with a president of the United States.
The Senate.
What the communists want is, in the first place, mobocracy.
Mobocracy. But you see how he's putting it in a specific group. He's not saying you got the Senate. What's on the other side of the Senate? So is the House of Representatives, and then you have the Senate. So he's talking about the House of Representatives.
Ruled by the mob, where the individual has no unalienable rights.
Got that? The individual has no inalienable rights. The individual.
certainly no property rights, certainly no wealth and income rights, where they can control the things that the Constitution has been put in place to protect.
So it sounds like he's saying that if these leftist, Marxist, communist House of Representatives got their way, then all of these things he just mentioned would happen. But how about we rewind this and see if it's not already happening and it's been happening for, we can document about 50, 60 years. 50, 60 years on our part, like towards us. See what I'm saying? So let's hear these things that he said would happen if the House or these leftists got their way. Hey, I'm left-handed, man. Y'all need to stop saying this leftist stuff, because us left-handers are always right. Never forget that.
That's why they want to get rid of the United States Senate, because the senators obviously are counted for purposes of the Electoral College. They also want to get rid of the United States Senate because it slows things down. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. The Senate is in charge of determining whether treaties are going to be treaties or not. The Senate is involved in the appointment process with a president of the United States. What the communists want is, in the first place, mobocracy.
I just heard that too. Hold on. Let me play it back and share with y'all what I just heard. And I'm gonna pause it. So I just paused it. I want to hear it again.
The Senate is involved in the appointment process with a president of the United States.
He said the Senate is involved with the appointment for the president of the United States. Did I hear that correctly? I think I did. Wait a minute. I thought presidents were elected. So did he slip up? I don't think he did, because he knows the entire process. Think about Mark Levin. He knows his shit. He knows this. He knows this United States government, the whole process, how everything is supposed to work. And he just said the Senate is in charge of the appointment of the president of the United States. Now, y'all tell me if I'm missing something here. Let me know. Let's go back.
Senate is in charge of determining whether treaties are going to be treaties or not. The Senate is involved in the appointment process with a president of the United States.
The appointment process with a president of the United States. So is the appointment process of the executive branch of what the president brings in. So basically the House, like when we see all these, when these people that are being appointed by the president come before the House of Representatives, that's just a whole dog and pony show. Because what he's saying is the Senate got the call. They dictate. But it sounded like to me that they're actually involved in the process of appointing the president, because they have control of the Electoral College. I'm baffled right now. But I heard this and I said, hold on, let me put this down. I want to be able to analyze this with you all. All right, let's keep going.
What the communists want is, in the first place.
See, he's saying the communists. So what he's doing is he's making it a point to say that there's communists, elected people that are known communists in the government. Okay. They've always been here. We know that. Well, let me say that.
Mobocracy, ruled by the mob, where the individual has no unalienable rights.
All right, so let's get back to that. I want to just he's saying mobocracy. When there's a mobocracy in place, this is what happens.
This one is in the first place mobocracy.
Okay, we ready? All right, mobocracy. This is what happens when mobocracy is in place.
Ruled by the mob.
One.
Where the individual has no unalienable rights.
Two.
Certainly no property rights.
Three.
Certainly no wealth and income rights.
Four.
Where they can control the things that the Constitution has been put in place to protect.
Five. I don't know what else he's going to say, but let's stick with those five right there. No inalienable rights. Yeah, we get shot down at the drop of a hat. And the police get off. Number two, you have a certain group that has been actually qualified, that when they do, just like we saw in the Nolan thing, that these people are pretty much getting off at the same time. We have on the other end, Carmelo Anthony did something that looked like he was getting jumped. It was a rat pack going on. He protects himself, somebody dies, and he goes to prison pretty much his whole adult life. Number three, we had the other kid, I can't remember his name, in South Carolina, where there's supposed to be a dominant, known as, what South Carolinians say, that is dominant black over there, that this Asian guy kills a young man, a teenager, and gets off. And pretty much cameras hid everything. And most likely he was not killed by the older man. He was killed by the older man's son. That's what's coming out. So, inalienable rights. Property rights. I just showed some videos up there what these people talk about. And guess what? White people kryptonite, because these white people talking. Not me. Not nobody like us. No so-called black people. These white folks talking. That's all them talking about it. That's their world. And it has trespassed on us. But we deal with the fact that property rights, shit, man, you got to really go through all the trips and traps to even try to get something. You got to go through all these steps to be able to get something, some property. I mean, property, period. Property comes in real form, real property, personal property, fixtures, whatever you might need that has value. On top of that, we can't even access gold or even utilize it in a normal trade situation for payment. We got to use their money. Well, their form of money. Let's go back a little bit.
Property rights, certainly no wealth and income rights.
Wealth and income. See, there you go with the income. Wealth and income. What is income? What is that? Equal playing field. Remember I said yesterday, equal playing field, all that to the side, it's a blowout. Who is he talking about here? Sounds like a specific people. Last time I checked, you're doing pretty good, guy. And most of these other people are doing pretty good themselves, for the most part, across the board. If you want to relate it on these four things he said so far. Three things. Was that three? Four? But anyway.
where they can control the things that the Constitution has been put in place to protect.
Right? Who has that problem? In mass numbers. Who has that problem? It's a word, it's called accessibility, right? Accessibility is the ability to have access to the necessary things in order to create an equal protection in all these things that he's mentioning. Accessibility. And that's accessibility to all the agents, the licensed, the accredited and certified licensed entities that they want you to be dealing with in order to deal with the government. The government don't want to deal with us. Remember, Trading with the Enemy Act, right? Right? Patriot Act, War Powers Act, all these things create a division between the people, right? Between us and them. They don't want to talk to us. They do not want to talk to the people. You have to go through an agent. This is one of the key things on Article 1, Section 8, Article 1, Section 10. That's why it was erased, suppressed, and the other thing came in and government became controlled. But he's talking about people that are communists, that are to be messing up the Constitution. So you telling me there's rules for thee and not for me? Is that what you're talking about, Mark Levin? Sounds like there's rules for you and there's rules for us. Well, I should say rules for me. I'm going to take this personally for a second. Sounds like there's rules for me and there's rules for you. That's what it sounds like. Because everything that you named, you said is communistic, mobocracy, ruled by mob. But everything that you said, I can pretty much show you in detail in a matter of 10 seconds that same thing has happened to me. It's happening to me, and it has happened to me in my whole adult life. There's always been somebody right there trying to control my movements and questioning me along the way and dictating whether I'm worthy enough based on the way I present myself. Sounds like you're saying that communism has been controlling the United States of America, the United States government of and for America. That's what it sounds like. That has been happening over the last 100 years. I would say technically 70 years. More importantly, I would say more like 50. I would say 50 because in 1970, about 56 years. Prior to that, it was war going on. It was outright war. I mean, we got all the films and videos. There was fighting, jumping off. There was killings. There was lynchings. There was a lot of things going on that was going on in the background. And the United States, once they seized the United States military, once they seized the American military, the War Department, the war aspect of America, the soldiers, and got control of that and was able to implement that into the United States, it was on from there. They had control of it. You see what I'm saying? So, but I think if I'm thinking I'm hearing correctly, everything that you named, you said is communistic in nature. So you know what we're gonna do? To verify that. So I don't want to just be talking. To verify that, I want to hear it again. I want to hear it again.
Is involved in the appointment process with a president of the United States. This represents the electoral only popular vote, even though everybody will go and vote. There'll be an enormous number of people who will be excluded from the process. An enormous number of states that would be excluded from the process. That's why
there will be a number of people that will be excluded from the process. Been going on, Mark. Been going on. I don't know where you been, but I know you go Saturdays and Sundays. Saturday, you do the replay at 2 o'clock West Coast time, which would be 5 o'clock East Coast time or 4 o'clock Central. And then on Sundays, you go at 5 o'clock West Coast time, which is 8 o'clock East Coast time and 7 o'clock Central time. And then they replay it 3 hours later. You pretty much got a clear grasp. I mean, you own it every time. And you got a YouTube channel too as well. You kind of replay your monologue. This is his monologue. Are you not aware, Mark, that everything that you just said could possibly happen if these communists was able to control something or take over something? Do you know it's already been going on for 50 years? Did you know that? Well,
why the communists want to get rid of the Electoral College. That's why they want to get rid of the United States Senate, because the senators obviously are counted for purposes of the Electoral College. They also want to get rid of the United States Senate because it slows things down. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. The Senate is in charge of determining whether treaties are going to be treaties or not. The Senate is involved in the appointment process with a president of the United States. What the communists want is, in the first place, mobocracy, rule by the mob, where the individual has no unalienable rights, certainly no property rights, certainly no wealth and income rights, where they can control the things that the Constitution has been put in place to protect, the individual rights based on the Declaration of Independence. They reject the Declaration of Independence. Here I have a book that is probably the most widely read book in our colleges and universities, the Communist Manifesto. How many of you have read it? May I suggest you read it? All social arrangements that are in place must be destroyed.
If someone is only making minimum.
That's crazy.
Faith must be destroyed because that's mysticism. The family structure must be destroyed because it gets into the way of the state. Anything and everything that exists must be destroyed.
Am I missing something here? Am I missing something here? Mark Levin, have you not known that this has actually been going on? I know what you're worried about. You're worried about because the fact that it's gotten so powerful now that it's uncontrollable. It has sunk its teeth and claws, hands, feet, everything into every aspect of government. And now you and everybody that look like you are nervous now. Very nervous. Very nervous. Because it was all right when it was just being done to a specific group of people. And you know who those people are. But now it's on you. Now you're not protected. I'm pretty sure that you are paying a nice little dowry for protection. This is where all these people are talking about, just like Supreme Court girls was up there. Hey, we need some taxpayer money. We need some protection. Yeah, you need some protection. Why do you need protection? because you guys got sloppy and you guys allowed all this stuff to take place. And you didn't even know that even within your government, you had some spooks sitting by the door, some people laying in wait. But you're sitting over here talking to the public, to the people on TV, as if none of this was going on, that this was a great so-called country or nation. You know what I'm saying? I got to spend a little bit more time with it, so it's going to go a little bit over the 90 minutes because I got to get into two PowerPoints, old PowerPoints I did. I want to bring some of these things up here. But what I might do is might cut off some of the PDFs that I got. But at the end of the day, he is talking about something. If you know anything about anything, being this right here, you know, everything that he's talking about has totally trespassed on our communities. That's why we have none right now. They have the individual. This is what he's talking about. Our communities obliterated. All we are individuals outside of our families. Within our families, you know what I'm saying? We have that group, but even within that group, there's not division, but there's individuality within that based on what everybody's going through. Because when you get to a certain age, you have a family, you have a wife, you have a woman, you have all these children, you have a job, you have bills, you have all these things going on. But he's acting as if none of these things exist until now. And what they always like to do is think that all these things existed when Biden got in office. See what I'm saying? They put everything on Biden, like, yeah, oh, America has been great all this time. Then all of a sudden, in a matter of seconds, Biden and Obama. Now, they are presidents. Nobody has ever fixed nobody's fixed the Civil War. Nobody fixed 1868. Nobody fixed 1920s. Nobody fixed 1930s. Nobody fixed 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s. It got worse and worse and worse. And who got the blunt of the bad deal? All righty then. You can't say anything else. You guys was pushed up and another group was pushed down. And guess who was utilized to be able to make that happen? All right. So we're not going to sit here and play dumb here and don't act brand new, Mark. You know damn well it's always been going on. Yeah, it's always been going on. Come on, man.
So we have a clean slate and we can create this workers' paradise eventually, you see. This is the most effective ideology ever imposed on human beings since the existence of mankind. It takes the individual and destroys him. There's no such thing as an individual. We're talking about groups.
Okay. All right. Okay. You said there's no such thing as the individual. There's only groups. All right. Where are you going with this, man?
We're talking about the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. We're talking about the oppressors and the oppressed. We're talking about this group. Wealth is taken, redistributed to this group. And there's subgroups within the groups. They created Marx and Engels and so forth and so on. You really ought to read this because this is really the Bible. The Bible for the democratic socialists of America. Don't they all sound like the recent dropouts from college? They really do. They sound very stupid, but they got the slogans down and the arguments down. We believe in equality.
All right. That's enough of that. Now, let's go here. Let's go here. All right. So what I'm gonna do is, where are we at here? Hold on. Where was that at? Hold on, man. All right. Now, this is American contributions, right? This is the American contributions. This is the American contributions, American Indian contributions to the world. Okay. Now, what it says right here, we're going to get down to it. All right. So it says the word contribution is defined in the American Heritage College Dictionary, second edition, as to give to the common fund or common person, common purpose, common ism. All right. American Indians from the Arctic. You said, well, communism, it's got a U in it. Okay, it's still a vowel. Commune, common, to have something like in nature. All right. American Indians from the Arctic Circle to the tip of South America. So we know where we're talking about. Any gifts to the world, common fund of knowledge in the areas of agriculture, science and technology, medicine, transportation, architecture, psychology, military strategy, government, and language. These contributions take the form of inventions, processes, philosophies, and political or social system. Okay? Now, we're going to start from what is my lowest number here. We're going to go to, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to start with the Maya. What were their contributions? Right here. Here's the Maya. Let's go here. American recorded American history. Let's keep going because we're dealing with a lot of politics and all that. We're staying here. You guys seeing all this great stuff. Let's stay on topic here. American history recorded. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Astronomy. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Calendars. Let's keep going. Cities. America's first. Cities. Let's keep going. All right. Writing systems. Women's rights. Urban planning. Water conservation. Traction and counter traction. Trade. Let's keep going. Stonemasonry techniques. Road systems. Prescriptions. Paper. Musical instruments. Lighthouses. Instant foods. All right. Gonna go right there. Now, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start right here with this 222. This is dealing with place names. Okay. Place names. Let's see about these place names. So this is talking about place names. This is pre-contact and contact. All right. Thousands of geographical names in North America, South America, are derived from Indian words. American Indians gave many of these names to locations and geographic features long before Europeans arrived in the Americas. Established. You don't need to get into this other stuff right here. All right. Now, let's go here. Here we go. Boom. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Alabama. Alabama comes from the Choctaw word alba, which means vegetation or thicket, and amo, which means gatherers or clearers. All right, Alaska. According to some historians, the Russian derivation of the Aleut word Aliska, which means mainland or great lands. Arizona, the Spanish version of Alezon, Acamel, O Adham, Pima, words that means small spring. As early as 1736, Spaniards used the term to refer to springs located near a large silver find. Okay, so we got silver there. Arkansas, perhaps a phonetic spelling of the name that people of the Illinois tribe have for American Indians who lived along what is known as the Arkansas River, which means downriver or downstream people. All right. Connecticut, from the Mohegan word, Gunnatakut. All right, Connecticut, which can be translated as Long River Place or the Long River. The original inhabitants of Connecticut were the Mohegan, Pequot, and Narragansett tribes. Dakota, north and south, refers to people who lived in there. Both states were carved from Dakota Territory in 1889, which was established by the United States government in 1861 from land that was inhabited by the Dakota. The word means friends or allies in the Dakota language. Illinois, the French spelling for the Illini, a tribe of American Indians. In the University of Illinois, their fighting mascot is the Illini. All right, they keep that there. All right, so a tribe of American Indians living along the bank of River Cavalier de la Salle. The word meant man or warrior. Iowa, named for the tribe of Indians that live in the region, the Ayuksa, whose name means one who puts to sleep. Kansas, the French spelling of the name of the tribe who lived in the area. All right. Kentucky, a Wyandotte word for plain. Massachusetts, named for the Massachusetts Bay Colony, established by the Puritans who landed in 1620. In Algonquin, the word means large hill place, so, or at the hill. Michigan, possibly derived from the Chippewa words Misi and Gami, which mean big water. Some believe the state was named after a clearing in the western Lower Peninsula that the Chippewa called Majigan, or clearing. And you have the Chippewa that, Michigan, got which one is that, but they have a Chippewa as their fighting mascot in sports. That's why I tell you guys, sports is very important. Minnesota, named after the Minnesota River, that the Dakota called Minnesota, meaning cloudy or milky water. Mississippi, after the river's name, which comes from the Algonquin languages, Mississippi, meaning big river. Missouri, derived from the Algonquin word that means muddy water. Some historians believe Missouri comes from an Algonquin word meaning river of the big canoes. Ohio, named after the Ohio River. French explorer Cavalier de la Salle, noted as early Oklahoma, made up of the Choctaw word Ukla and Huma, which together mean red person. The Choctaw did not refer to themselves in this manner. Allen Wright, an American Indian missionary, made up the name, which was used for the first time in 1866, Choctaw-Chickasaw Treaty. All right. what is now the state of Oklahoma was really known as Indian Territory. An area set aside. We got all that. We got all that. We got all that. Oregon. Origin of the name, unclear. Possibly it was derived from Oregon, a Shoshone in word for place of plenty, of the Siouan word Oregon, which means great river to the west. Tennessee comes from Tennessee, the Cherokee name for two villages. Texas, named after Tisha, in the Caddo language, which means hello friend. All right. Utah, a name given to Navajo by White Mountain Apache, who called them Utahi. Europeans understood Apache term to refer to the Ute, who lived even further north. Wisconsin, French Wyoming derived from two. Okay, we got that, which means big flats, the Lenni Lenape people. The word was given to the name Delaware. These people call themselves the Lenni Lenape or Lenape. Kearney, Nebraska newspaper publisher. Now, says see also language, American Indian influence on settlement patterns. Now, let's lower this a little bit. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to, I should have went over, let's go to 157. Bam. All right. Where does it go? Right here. I'm looking for something in particular. I don't want to go too deep into this, but I just wanted to show you that these places are already established here. Hold on. All right, let's go. I don't know why I had that in there. That don't. Okay. So here we go. League of Nations, American Indian influence on the League of Nations. This is AD 19. This is AD 19. So they have an actual date for this. So that means this cannot pretty much be disputed. Once they put a date on it, can't be disputed. So that means they have documentation that there was a League of Nations here since AD 19. Now, a lot of people know that the United Nations was previously called the League of Nations. So it could be safe to say that whenever the United Nations came into play and took over the League of Nations, that means that it was American Indian controlled for thousands of years. If you go AD 19, and I don't know when I think the United Nations came in the 20th century of some sort. I think it came in right around the turn of the 20th century, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. You guys can put that in the chat or whatever and let me know on that one. But if there's a League of Nations, then here we go. It says the principles of the Iroquois Constitution were used in the covenant. Okay, that's why I have 157 page on there. The covenant of the League of Nations were used in the principles of the Iroquois Constitution were used in the covenant of the League of Nations. Listen closely so you can take back some of that that's sitting right in front of your face that you think you can't touch. All right. This International Peacekeeping Assembly was organized in 1915. There you go. At the close of World War I, and was the predecessor of today's United Nations. The democratic principles of the League are based upon those contained in the U.S. Constitution, many of which, in turn, were directly influenced by the Iroquois Constitution. Several sections of the Iroquois Constitution are related to issues of peace and war among sovereign nations. Now, you remember I showed in my PowerPoint the other day about that thing called, I think it was the League of Nations, of dealing with sovereigns. Hold on real quick. Let me pull this down. Let's go back. Hold on, it's coming up. I want to go here real quick. Where is it at? Here it is. Yeah, the Law of Nations. You guys see it? The Law of Nations. This right here. The Law of Nations. All right, so we clear. This is what they're talking about right here. This part right here. Peace and war among sovereign nations. The Law of Nations. So guess who wrote that? Now, because I want you guys to, I know a lot of people say, yeah, we invented barbecue, the word barbecue, these words and this and that. Now I'm about to give you some politics and government and international law. I'm giving you something that these people still use. They still use these things. All right. All right. We're done with that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go to languages. All right, we're going to go to language, American influence on language. Okay, it's going to open up a little bit. Brace yourself. I haven't read this in a while, but I think let me check this out. Since contact with Europeans, American Indians have contributed hundreds of words from their indigenous language to both English and Spanish. The predominant languages of the conquerors and colonizers. Get sidestep that a little bit. One of these adopted words were the names Indians have given to animals, plants, and places that Europeans had never seen before. Never seen before. For example, the manatee, an aquatic mammal that is found in the coastal waters of both the tropical Americas and Africa, was named from the Carib Indian word manatee, which meant beast. The Spanish were the first to use it and it entered the English language in 1672. Chiggers, tiny mice that burrow beneath the skin. Okay. Terrapin is an Algonquian word meaning little turtle, source of food for indigenous people of the eastern woodlands. All right. The name of the nocturnal marsupials called opossums comes from the Powhatan word opossum, meaning a white animal. It was shortened to possum by colonists. Chipmunk. Okay. Coyote. Avocado, chile, chocolate, peyote, tamale, and tomato. The jaguar, Felis jaguarundi, a long-tailed grayish-brown wildcat native to tropical America, gets its name from the Guarani word for dog, jaguarundi. Piranhas. So if Felis jaguarundi is Latin, see, Latin's in there. All right. So just try to say this. If these words are words that and things that they saw and these things already circulating around in the Americas before the English, so-called English got around here, or Spanish, or what they would call Spanish people came around here, then who do you think wrote these documents? Who you think has the established foundation of how this government is to work. Who set the table? So don't run from it. Run to it. It's not easy. It's simple. Now, let's get to the. I want to start with what? Let's go to 22. Hold on, let me lower this a little bit. 22. Now, this I put in politics, right? I put in politics or political, just so I can kind of get you guys to get an understanding about the political nature and what was going on at this time regarding that. So, you know what I could do? I could just ignore this. I can just ignore this. All right, let's go to 260. Let's go to 260. I want to show you guys what's going on here. All right. Now, if you look closely, top right, you see socialist theory. You heard Mark Levin talking. You saw what I presented yesterday in definition. So it says socialist theory, American Indian influence on. So that would be the American Indian influence on socialist theory. Now, this is AD 1851 when this supposedly this socialist theory came into being. So it says socialism is a political philosophy that regards a class-free society in which collective good is valued over individuality as the ideal society. You see what I'm saying? Individuality. See, you keep talking about the individual. See what they're saying? Let's divide and conquer. That's a means for divide and conquer. That is your definition of that. That's within, you would call capitalism, communism. You see what I'm saying? Those two surround socialism. Socialism can be the perfect glue between capitalism and socialism. All right. Now, in addition to influencing the U.S. Constitution, see United States Constitution, American Indian influence on. The Great Law of Peace of the Iroquois League of Nations served as a major inspiration for later refinements of socialist theory after the publication of the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. Same thing Mark Levin was talking about. So, Mark Levin's talking against this here. Now, look, I don't know what the angle is. I'm just telling you what I got here. This is what I got right here. You got it? So, this Great Law of Peace of the Iroquois League of Nations was the inspiration, not just the inspiration, a major inspiration for later refinements of socialist theory after the publication of the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. Now, these refinements of this socialist theory is maybe what Mark Levin's talking about. Because in ours, it's the Great Law of Peace. And these refinements that they put in the Communist Manifesto and the Das Kapital, because capital is a word for what? Capital. Capitalism. Now, I don't know. I never read Das Kapital. I never read Communist Manifesto. Wasn't interested in it. But I did read Pawns in the Game. I did read The Fourth Reich of the Rich. I did read those books. Now, I know this might be a little boring, but I'm getting somewhere here. Because this is what Mark Levin's talking about. Now, Mark Levin obviously is an Israeli Jew, whatever. I don't know. Something to that was fakes. I don't know what he called himself, but yeah, he's there. He wears a yarmulke. So it says the Iroquois and Iroquoian speaking group indigenous to what is now New England created the Iroquois League, which originally consisted of the Mohawk between 1100 AD and 1450. European political philosophers, Karl Marx, which he called Marxist. He mentioned Marxist, so this is the guy where Marxism comes from, Karl Marx, and Friedrich Engels were influenced by the Iroquois ideas of government. But at the same time, Mark Levin is calling that a what? A leftist, communist, as an enemy to the republic. He's saying that what they're talking about, this Communist Manifesto and this Das Kapital and everything that they bring, socialism within that, is considered to be a enemy to the republic. But what this is saying right here is that the Great Law of Peace, the communism, socialism, capitalism of sort, I don't think capitalism was involved in that, was actually something that was an inspiration to these people to write these books. And they were okay with this form of government. So if that's the case, then was this government formed specifically to rival the Great Law of Peace? I don't know. But see, this is where the information gets confusing. You know what I'm saying? This is where things get mixed up, because everybody at this point in time that is so-called black, especially black men, is like, yeah, I'm a capitalist. I want to be a capitalist. This is what I'm about. Yeah, because I'm about making money. I'm about this type of thing. It's that type of individualism that we're talking about here. Not communism, not common mindset from the sense of the Great Law of Peace here. Not from a sense of Karl Marx. We're talking about from the sense of what this is saying here. I mean, maybe they could be exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, whoever wrote, these people that wrote this encyclopedia, seemed like they did some pretty good research. And it still hasn't, I haven't seen anybody, any peer reviews or anybody talking against it as if it's not true. Now, this is very interesting. I wasn't even looking for this, but I was looking for the Socialist, the League of Nations. I remember reading that in here. So I just wanted to bring it in. But then I just saw this. Now, see what else it says. Marx and Engels, both of whom were German, lived in England. They did not have contact with the Iroquois, but learned of their constitution through the work of Lewis Henry Morgan. Sound like a brother to me. Lewis Henry Morgan. Yeah, sound like a brother to me, who would later come to be known as the father of American anthropology. Morgan, who worked for the railroad industry as a lobbyist, first began studying American Indians to discover pieces of their rituals that he could use in a fraternal order he planned to found. I'll be a monkey's uncle. So, wait a minute. Morgan created his fraternal order off of these American Indians and what they do. So that means the discipline had to be outstanding. The things that they did, the order that they worked within. You know what I'm saying? You know, because even when we do the electric slide or we do these 2 steps, we be in line. Everything, pick it up in a minute. Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, let's get it. You You got people that can play in sports, come from different neighborhoods, different states, different places, and can come together and within a few months can actually link up. Within a month, actually, 30 to 45 days can link up and be a solid team. People think that's easy. It's not. Remember, I'm a coach. You coaching a kid from Grape Street, a kid from Avalon, a kid from Crenshaw, a kid from Compton. Then you sprinkle in some people from Manhattan Beach and these rich areas. Then you got some people over here in you know what I'm saying? Gardena, Hawthorne, Lawndale. And you get them to come together and play. From the Trays, St. Andrews Park, the Western. I mean, you go down a couple streets, you in a whole different zip code. And you get them people to play together and go out there and win. Now, the locker room's going to be a little bit messed up sometime. You know what I'm saying? But eventually, they come for a common cause. But if you can't make them, not make them. But if you can't show them the way, oh, no. It's crazy. But this is what I'm saying. The outstanding continuity, communion that these people had. This is what they're saying. All fraternal orders deal with community. A form of communism. Coming together as a community for one common purpose. That's it. Everything else works from there. Interesting right here. All right, what else we got here? Through the influence of his close friend, Eli S. Parker, that's another brother, a Seneca. And we know Seneca. Seneca Park is now Central Park, New York. And the first American Indian to serve as a commissioner of Indian Affairs for the U.S. government. The Iroquois adopted Morgan. He spent nearly 10 years in close contact with the Iroquois people, and his writings about them were far more objective than any others until that point. So now you can see the Commissioner of Indian Affairs, because you had for the U.S. government. So you have these things. I actually talked about these Indian departments. The Seneca was a part of one of the groups of the Iroquois. Now you see who was actually the middleman or the ambassador for these nations dealing with the United States. Now we're seeing where everything is happening in the United States, and this thing matriculated all the way to Germany. All right. Let's go a little bit further. Okay. We're going to get past this part right here. Let's start right here. Hey, sometimes the lesson takes a turn. So we just took a turn. But I planned on showing these, not to be too detailed though, but just give you guys some hits real quick. But this is interesting. My bad, I ain't really thinking about y'all right now. This is for me. I haven't read this closely, but I think it fits. This comes into play in government. This book became a classical work in anthropology after its publication. Yeah, I'm in my individual bag. I'm an individual right now. Damn the community. This book became a classical work in anthropology after its publication in 1851 and was the first in-depth study of an American Indian social organization. That's powerful. In it, Morgan detailed how the Iroquois had set up their government with checks and balances and equal distribution of wealth and power. Iroquois leaders were essentially servants who could be removed for any negative behavior relating to the people they served or to the office they held. I mean, come on. Isn't that the United States? It's what it's supposed to be. So why is it called a republic? A republic is to take away from the public. A republic, right? Separate the words. What is it, to reorganize or shift it or redefine? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So right here, they had offices. They could be removed. And they say that the leaders were essentially servants to the people they served. People think that's a bad thing, being a servant to the people. You know how much power is into that? Serve the people. That is one of the biggest honors that you can ever have. Serve the people. You serve the people, you'll never be poor, ever. Because nobody's going to do nothing but speak great words of you. Now, let's get off of that. All right, so let's go to 261. There was something here. Okay, boom. This is what I want to get back to Marx and Engels, and then we can move on from there. All these concepts and more captivated Marx and Engels. They saw in Morgan's book a political system that worked and was at the same time almost their ideal of a classless and leaderless state. See right here? This is what they're talking about. Almost their idea of a classless and leaderless state. See, what they're saying is this is what they want to bring in. They want it classless and leaderless. No. You will do this. The people say, you good at that. You playing, you could throw the ball good. You're going to play quarterback. You're going to be wide receiver. You're going to play running back. You're going to be my front line. You guys. Because you guys do that well. And you better do it right. You get appointed by the people because they already see that what you have in you naturally. This is not something what we see on TV where the media is telling us who these people are and why they should be going in. They're dictating the whole policy from people that nobody ever met. But these groups of people, they knew each other because it was the Iroquois. They always amongst each other. And they had their heads of class. See what I'm saying? Among the Iroquois, the idea of private property and the competition to acquire wealth was almost unheard of. So wait a minute. Competition to acquire wealth was almost unheard of. The idea of private property and competition to acquire wealth was almost unheard of. So you're telling me that the Iroquois Constitution and how they ran things were pretty much unheard of anywhere else. So what was everybody else doing? So that a competition, that's why I said, I haven't read this whole thing. So I'm writing pocket with it. These concepts appeal the most to the two political philosophers. Mark, who had just completed Das Kapital, was especially intrigued. Morgan's description of Iroquois society fit into Marx's theories and was an alternative to the monarchy or the Russian czarist form of government that he was uncomfortable accepting. He felt absolute rules placed too much power in the hands of one person and produced a very unequal distribution of wealth, in addition to which the masses have few political choices or rights. But Mark Levin is saying that this communist thing is, see, this, I think this is what that a lot of them are not using communists at that much anymore because they're like, wait a minute. Like, these people in America, like, wait a minute. The Great Law of Peace, America government in the United States was mirrored off a so-called communistic or common sense organization. Because that's what it all comes down to. These ideologies and philosophies and isms take away from what the base word means, common. What do we have in common? That's it. See, it's communist and then the socialist and all. Come on. See, that's to confuse the people and rile the people up. Those are buzzwords to trigger people. But here, I'm going to untrigger you. So you're going to point the trigger in another direction. See what I'm saying? That's what we're going to focus on. Now, let's go over here to caucus. What is that, 53? I'm showing you. Just showing you. Just showing you. Just showing you. There you go. Wait, that was supposed to be 53, 54. Hold on, let's. Oh, hold on. Let's come back here. All right. I know everybody's familiar with this. Everybody's familiar with this. The Boy Scouts of America. This, I fell out my chair on this one. I fell out my chair. I don't need to say anything else. Boy Scouts of America is in there. Right? And even they bastardized the Boy Scouts of America. These little kids getting felt on and shit. Like, God damn, y'all supposed to be going out there hiking, learning how to survive off the natural, and y'all over there feeling on people. God, y'all nutty. Nutty. All right, let's get down here. Caucus. All right, here we go. What was the other one? Yep. Damn, come on, man. All right, here we go. Caucus. Here it is. Caucus. Now, this is saying pre-contact. North American Northeast cultures. Caucus, the word for a closed-door political meeting often held to discuss strategy, was first used by English speakers in 1773. It comes from the Algonquin word kakasu, Caucasian, meaning counselor. Now, Big Dog was showing these Black Caucus, these people in the Black Caucus that are not doing nothing for the people they're supposed to be representing or presenting in a proper light. But this word right here is there. So this is closed door meetings, political meeting. And it means counselor. So what is the Black Caucus actually doing? And who are they counseling? And what strategy are they discussing? And on whose account this strategy is affecting? The Iroquois and other Algonquin-speaking tribes who lived in the northeast of what is now the United States were politically sophisticated. Politically sophisticated. Between AD 1100 and 1450, they joined together to form the Iroquois League. Got that. The Federation of Tribes that originally consisted of them. I got that. Many parts of the Iroquois Confederacy Constitution served as foundations to the form of democracy practiced in the United States. Today, and greatly influenced the contents of the Constitution. Whew. Now, got one more. I don't know why I wrote that number down. Now we're going to get into census. Census is right here. We have census, right? In order to be able to manage their mita or work tax system, the Inca, whose empire was established in what is now Peru, needed to know their exact population. As new territory was brought under their rule, they conducted periodic censuses so that work tax levies or mita could be modified to meet changing demographics. Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on. we have here? I think we have a failure to communicate. I think we have a failure to communicate. What does this say here? This is Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3. This says representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union. Accordingly to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, so on and so forth. Indians not taxed. The actual enumeration, which means numbering, shall be made within 3 years. And to all these different places. One representative. Now, what does it say here? The Inca gathered vital statistics on their population to determine who was widowed, who was poor, and who could not pay taxes. The annual census was also used to determine manpower available for defense of the villages. Census records were gathered using the quipu, a counting and record-keeping device that utilized a system of knots tied on colored strings to store information. So what, these cats can't handle this? I mean, it's been going on here all the time. We can't handle it. You know why they can't handle it? Because they don't have the proper people in there taking care of that. That is, should be advising them and counseling them in this matter. But it seemed like this Black Caucus might be some remnants of some American Indians who have chose to betray their own people, but still advise the government on how to work the system, but work it in a way to where it is to the demise of the actual people that actually created the system. '83. What's here? Yep, that was community service. I think that was the community service one. And then we have women's rights. Where did women's rights go? Where did women's rights go? WXYZ TU. Okay, so we have women's rights right here. So it says 1000 AD to 1400. All right, so the Iroquois League of Five Nations allowed women full political participation. Although men made the decisions, women held the power to veto them as well as to appoint men to positions of authority within the league. So the women ran it. The men made the decisions. The women did the appointing. And they had veto power. All right. Iroquois were matrilineal, and this was a matriarchal society. All right. So we have a clear understanding that this government was wholly influenced by that. So this communistic type of ideology is maybe something that they know that our people can strive in, because we deal in community. Everything that I read in here, it really has a lot to do with the people. in the community and working together. And also being competitive, friendly competition. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're good in sports, competitive. All the things that was done was competitive in nature. Now, so we're dealing with that, right? Let me take a look at the chat real quick. Let me close him out. Let's remove this real quick. What we got in here? Anybody new up in the building? Okay, what we got here? What meant fraud? Hold on, let me go up a little bit. Okay, Iru is opposite, qua is cross. Let me see. Okay, so old dude said he heard that the Iroquois were foreign people. Okay. But the structure of government originated here based on what I read. You know, I want to read that because there's always going to be, you know, different types of views on who was here, who was not here. But even if they were, you know what I'm saying? Even if they were, it makes me no difference. You see what I'm saying? Actually makes me no difference. Because the bottom line is that we know that these things were done here in America. I mean, people even say the Mayans are foreign. If that was the case, we might as well go back to America was barren and it's the new world. We might as well just go back to that. Then that means the Olmecs are foreign and the Mayans are foreign, Incas are foreign, Aztecs, everybody's foreign. And we just go ahead and give the credit to the Siberians being over here, coming on the Bering Straits in ice, you know, following animals. We have to figure out where we're going to stand on this. Because when we do that, that causes a lot of confusion. We got to own something. I mean, we got to own something. We got to own because we're operating within this government. We know that there has been something that has been left out. So if it's been left out, then that means that it is connected to a people that's already been here. Man, I just showed you the sister earlier on the Instagram. She said, shit, African American name came up. Shit, her mama got pissed. Her grandmama got pissed. Like, we ain't no Africans. We've always been here. And if you look at it, you know what I'm saying? You got Benjamin Banneker. He was from the Wabanaki people. He was connected with that whole group of people. He built, constructed, drafted Washington, D.C. for them to set up their little shop over there. Told me, y'all go over there. You see what I'm saying? You know, so we got to figure out what because if we don't, then shit, we might as well go back to being the Pan-Africanists. Being from Africa. You know what I'm saying? The Iroquois people is something, that name they made up, Iroquois. And really, you know, that turquoise and everything. But that's why I read that little part on the languages. And there was more in that said not just Spanish, but French. All these languages originate from American Indian words. All this stuff that they utilize comes from American Indian words. So, nevertheless, now let me get into this real quick because I'm just going to go ahead and just slide off into the other part of it, and that other part of it is what we deal with the U.S. of A. today. Now, the U.S. of A. And this is coming out of their words. It's coming out of their mouth. Start off. with Abraham Lincoln. Well, before we start with Abraham Lincoln, now these are seminars I did for a while. If you actually look up top, I did this in 2019. I did this seminar in 2019. Yeah, I'm gonna show you these little pictures I had threw in there. All right. Let me just go to slideshow. All right, so there we go. Now, this was a quote that Iceland president, right? This is a quote from the Iceland president. He said, "The government bailed out the people and imprisoned the bankers, the opposite of what America and the rest of Europe did." Now, these are just some things I had put up, some little entertainment, you know, just some entertainment for the people listening. So you get some quotes. It says, "As an alternative to the traditional 30-year mortgage, we also offer an interest-only mortgage, balloon mortgage, reverse mortgage, upside-down mortgage, inside-out mortgage, loop-de-loop mortgage, and the spinning double-axle mortgage with a triple Lutz." Okay. This is what we deal with. Come on, man. This one says you need to apply for student loans so you can go to college and get a good job to pay off your student loans. It's corporate America. Hey, good news. Record profits this quarter. Long unemployment line. Now, this is supposed to be a capitalist republic, but unemployment is rampant. But you're talking about they're fighting communists here. And, you know, the Constitution, this is what Mark Levin was saying. Well, this is what we deal with all the time. I mean, during the shutdowns, how many small businesses went out of business? How many small businesses got shut down? Really, in California? Let's just talk about California. How many small businesses got shut down? Oh, and everybody had to stay in the house. Everybody had to put on a mask. Everybody had to do this, stand in one line, stand 6 feet apart, do this, do that. Is that in a capitalist society? Or is that a socialist society, or is that a communist society? And what type of communist society is it? I don't think it's any of them. I think it's just a mobocracy. Right? Because it says somewhere that I found that democracy really stems from mobocracy and vice versa. Come on. Come on. Man. All right. Now, this is something different. We don't want to go into that. All right, let me get into this other one. I know. I ain't used this in a long time. Now, right here, it says that this is what I said in the other part of my presentation. Right? It says the US of A is a union, not a nation state. And why this matters. When referring to the United States of America, President Lincoln called it a union, not a state or country. Lincoln said, "I do not expect the union to be dissolved." Okay? Okay? Got that? I don't need to read that. Just look at it. That's the flow chart. All right. I don't know why I copied that twice. Now, this is what I'm just saying to put you guys and gals in the right frame of mind, right? The Constitution for the U.S. of A. starts with, in order to form a more perfect union. Does not say, in order to form a more perfect state or country, a union. If anybody's been working, you join a union in some of these jobs. You will join a union. Within a union, you also have common goals. You come into a common understanding. Being part of that union is kind of fraternal. It's an association. It's an organization where people come together with the same mindset. This is a union. As you see, that's about taxation, employment, persons, enumeration. Keep getting the right state of mind here. Be in the right state of mind. I'm passing all this up. I went over this before. Where is it at? All right, this is not. All right, let me get to this other one. All right. Let's go to the slideshow. Come on now. Current slide. Now, I mentioned this prior, right? I had brought up the Uniform Bonding Code, but I want to just put it in the presentation so you guys get a better look. Now it says malfeasance in office. Malfeasance in office or official misconduct is the commission of an unlawful act done in an official capacity, which affects the performance of official duties. Malfeasance in office is often grounds for a just cause removal from an elected official by statute or recall election. Now, all these things that have been going on. Now, this is what this guy is talking about. Mark took me to a different direction. It's good. I'm going to address what he's saying. He's saying that there's a group of people, the leftists, right, the Democrats, that are the only ones actually doing this and doing that and creating all this stuff to remove all these things. So, if they come in, everything can be changed. Get rid of the Senate, do all that, and then rights going to be removed, elections going to be tainted, and all that stuff. When I will pretty much say that last time I checked, I haven't seen any administration all the way down to the states in any elected position where I can actually say I have been properly presented. I and the people that are around me. I could pretty much say that. And it is known that all of these officials have pretty much committed treason. Every single one, either by full act or by silence. So, at this point in time, as we've seen in the Encyclopedia of American Contributions, American Indian Contributions to the World, in their position, they had elected or appointed positions by the people, really by the women. And as soon as they didn't do what they were supposed to do, it was removed instantly. No question, no nothing. You got to go. You're fired. We'll get somebody else. Who does that here? Where's those checks and balances? It said that the Iroquois Constitution, everything had checks and balances. Where's the checks and balances here in the United States? This is a rule by the mob. The mob runs the United States of America. They're not going to check each other. Me, amongst, if all the stuff that Trump is saying, if he does not make public all of these malfeasant officials, then he hasn't did his job. It's going to continue because you're hiding people. If he doesn't get rid of the shadow government, he's hiding people. It's not going to never get done. I'm just letting you guys know that. If he doesn't do his job and put everything in a proper place that he is supposed to be doing, he has been mandated to do it. Came out of his mouth. And everybody else in that cabinet, they have been mandated to do something that they're not saying. But he also has specifically said this is for humanity. So if you're talking about humanity, you're talking about who? Who has been the target group for a long time? All right, then. So now it says an exact definition of malfeasance in office is difficult. Many highly regarded secondary sources compete. No, it's not. It's not difficult. The definition of malfeasance in office is not difficult. It's right here. The commission of an unlawful act. The commission of it. That means it has been ordered or has been consciously done, and there has been policy put in place in order for them to circumvent their duties. Willful intent. See what I'm saying? Ultravirs. Latin meaning beyond the powers. Describe actions taken by government bodies or corporations that exceed the scope of power given to them by laws or corporate charters. It says or, laws or. When referring to the acts of governing government bodies, a constitution is most often the measuring stick of the proper scope of power. So if we're dealing with the Constitution, i.e., e.g., or for example, legislatures, you know what I'm saying? This is what's going on. If you have a fiduciary duty, right? More importantly, if you're in a position to serve and protect, right? Because in the Iroquois Constitution, what we're talking about, or the Great Law of Peace, you had people that were in a position of service, and they were servants to the people. Plain language. And fiduciary responsibility specifically says that these officers, because it's titled public officers and employees, these public officers and employees have to labor under every prohibition and disability given to them to the exercise of their duties. Prohibition, right? Prohibition and disability. Labor, exercise, all those words. See what I'm saying? But at the same time, there's laws and there's not laws, there's policies in place. There's policies in place that actually are circumventing the acts that was brought in, right? You have the Frank Dodd Act, you have the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, you have the Truth in Lending Act, you have the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, you have the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you have the Civil Rights Act. You have the Fair Housing Act. You have the, you see what I'm saying? All of these acts are to protect the people, and then they produce codified things, which is called positive law. That positive law means it does not move, has no movement in it. People think positive is always a great thing. Positive means to pose. To pose is like pose, freeze, be still. So there's no movement. To negate means to move it. Negative, then negate. Flip side. You see what I'm saying? So these positive laws is to keep people still and not have constant movement in order to get to where you need to go. It is to stop people from getting to the places that they need to go to make so that way that their policy enforcers, not law enforcers, but their policy enforcers can stop you along the way in your movements, in your travel. Does that make sense? All right. So let's go forward on this. All right, let's get out of here. Boom. All right. All right. I don't know why I had these things multied up. Nope. All right, so let's go back over here. I know it probably wasn't what y'all was expecting, but got to get done. So what it says, okay, so in this part of the USA is a union, not a nation state. This part of it right here goes, the Constitution for the US of A starts with, in order to form a more perfect union, okay? The United States Code in section 28, my bad, let me come back here. In section 28 USC subsection 297 says the 50 states are compact states and countries. 28 USC, pull it up for yourself, make a note of that. Because if you're doing your thing, you listen to this, that means you want to help your community out, build a community, and make sure that you and your family are protected within, you know what I'm saying, your own circle. So when they talk about it from a state of what you consider the state of, right, republic, so on and so forth, and this code right here that tells you exactly what it is. The 50 states are compact states. You guys can look that up for yourself, and countries. So that means California is a country. Nevada is a country. Arizona is a country. Colorado is a country. Washington State is a country. So on and so forth. All countries. All right. So when everybody's talking about I'm a state national, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm that. That's why. That's why. That's why people getting driver's license when all you need to do is just get before all this stuff, get a state ID. All right. Now, this section deals with federal judges serving as judges for one of the states. Subsection B says reimbursement from the countries referred to in subsection A. Subsection A says serve temporarily as a judge of any duly constituted court of the freely associated compact states whenever an official duty authorized by the laws of the respective compact state requests such assignment. Okay. Now, I know you guys don't probably know what that means. The point is that these states are not actually what they're saying they are. Being a compact state is very important. So you're a compact state over here, and then you're a country over here, depending on the situation. All right. So let's go to the next. The U.S. government style manual, and I think it's It's the GPO government. It's the governmental printing office style manual. Okay. All right. US GPO style manual. You can pull that thing up offline. Get it. Now, it says right here, the U.S. government style manual lists the nationalities for the natives of these states / countries. The nationalities are Alabamian, Louisianan, Ohioan, Californian, so on and so forth. That's why you're a national. It ain't nothing extra. It ain't nothing extra. When you was born there, this is what said natives. You was born there because usually most time, for most of the people today, this is where natives come in this sense. Is because most of the time you were probably born from a place not from your family's origin. You see what I'm saying? So you would be a native to that. You will be a native to that. Now, so get all the supernatural, I'm a state national shit out your head. It's already in the government style manual. It's already in the GPO style manual. If you're in California, you're a California national. Thank you. They say, well, you're a state national. You don't have to say state national. What are you? I'm an American Californian national. All right. All right. Now, let's get out of here. Just wanted to give you guys that for a second. Just kind of run that at you real quick. So we don't have to get too complicated about all this stuff. Just giving you some little tidbits. Certain things that I could do that's safe. You know, we don't have to be any extras on it. But just something that you can actually work with. Now, I pulled this up. Okay, this says, this is thorpe.law.ou.edu. OU is Oklahoma University. This says tribal UCC. Tribal UCC. Okay, let's see what it says. This is a revision of Uniform Commercial Code, Article 9, Secured Transactions. I don't even know why it has it up there, but let's try to see where it goes from here. Now, these are all definitions. I'm just going here. I'm trying to figure out where it's going. I want to see if it has something. But when you're dealing with Article 9, you're dealing with agriculture most of the time. I'm trying to figure out where is this going. Hold on, let's go all the way down. If it's just reading off this, I thought it was going to bring some Indian information in here. Here's what I'm going to do. Let's see if I can find Indian in here. Nope. So it's not important. It's not important. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to end off right here. Hold on. Call me again. Hold on a sec. All right. All right, so let's all right. Let's give you this little tidbit. All right, let me move this over here. And let's go over here. All right. So I read this yesterday. And I don't know if anybody went and pulled it up, but what it said right here is that you hear the videos and stuff like that, but you know, I like to bring up case law because it pretty much says right here. It says right here. It says right here. Plaintiff brought this as a common law action for the recovery of possession of lot 19, right? This property, a common law action. Okay. At this time, plaintiff claim was in default at the time foreclosure proceedings were started. Right here it says defendant appeared and answered that the plaintiff created the money and credit upon its own books by bookkeeping entry as the consideration for the note and mortgage, and alleged failure of the consideration for the mortgage deed and alleged that share of sale passed no title to plaintiff. Now, the key thing is consideration. And what is considered to be lawful consideration? Remember I mentioned the Coinage Act, Mint Act. We mentioned 12 U.S.C. 411, 412. So you keep all these things in mind, what is considered to be lawful consideration. Now, right here, the issues tried to the jury were whether there was a lawful consideration and whether defendant have waived his right to complain about the consideration, having paid on the note for almost 3 years. Now, under the circumstances, see, this is where they get you. Well, you've been paying on it for 3 years. But my thing is, it doesn't matter. Fraud, there's no statute of limitation on it. And under the Truth in Lending Act, you have a right to rescind any security instrument if everything was not fully disclosed to you. They say, well, you got 3 days to do that. No, you got forever. From the jump. Okay. Now, Mr. Morgan admitted that all of the money or credit was used as a consideration was created upon their books, that this was standard banking practice exercised by their bank in combination with the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, another private bank. Now, when we get down here, this was the order. Okay. It says, number 2, that because of failure of a lawful consideration, the note and mortgage are null and void. This is why in these mortgage situations, you'll never get to discovery. Never. You'll never get to this. If you get to discovery, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about really just as a pro per sui juris litigant, meaning you don't have no attorney. You're doing it yourself. And even when you get to these discoveries where you do a request for admissions, interrogatories, request for production of documents, you know, all of these things, basically, the other side is going to say it's unduly burdensome and delayed tactic, all that type of stuff. They're going to say all this type of stuff, and they're going to refuse to bring it. You know why? Because the attorneys are the one coming in there. And they can't provide it because they don't have it. They do not have the original unaltered wet ink signature. They don't have it. See what I'm saying? So Now, let's read the rest. After this case, these people you'll never get a bank person to come into court. Never. They ain't going to try to settle with you, or they're going to try to see if they can they'll just say, all right. Well, we'll just, they don't have to pay no more. They'll try anything to get up out of that. And the cold thing about it is the thing has been so suppressed that this is what we're talking about. Ultraviers. We're talking about malfeasance. You're talking about things that have case law, full faith and credit. This is where the judicial branch, all these people are appointed. None of these people are elected because, as Mark Levin is saying, oh, well, the Senate. No. If you get rid of the Senate, you get rid of the Electoral College, because the Electoral College should not be a part of the system. The people are the ones that vote the representatives in. And technically, as it goes, the state, and for each of these countries, for each of these compact states / countries, you elect all your officials in. These officials then should be coming to the people and saying, who do you want, who would you choose to vote for in regards to the so-called president and the so-called commander-in-chief for the United States of America? Because all of the compact states / countries are the encapsulation of America. That is America. The United States is in the 10 square mile in their middle location, right? So if that's the case, then who would you want to be running? So when these people in Congress who are representatives of the people, the voice of the people to the representative go there. That is what I would consider to be your electoral college. Your electoral college is the people in the Congress, or I should say the House of Representatives. That is a House of Representatives. So that is the house that represents the people. So you go to the people, bring your ballots, drop your ballots, send them to Congress, the House of Representatives. All the representatives come together and they say, hey, my district said this, or my area of people said this, my district said this, my district vote for this. And that's how you come together with it. I mean, but you got these people with the whole little tap board and all this stuff, and you got all this stuff going on here and there and here and there, and they saying the people vote for them, but really it's only called the popular vote. Popular vote is not selected. It's not the means where the president comes in. The Electoral College is, as Mark Levin said, the Electoral College is the Senate. See what I'm saying? So, now, Foreign Agents Registration Act. This is something that is also within the scope of fiduciary duty. If you are malfeasant, if you are ultraviers, if you violate your bond, your oath, which is based off the foundation of your oath, you are a foreign agent. You are considered to be an alien enemy to the United States of America, who has a fiduciary duty to the people through treaty. That means that you have more foreign interest than anything else. Understand? And with that being said, you are foreign. Now, Foreign Agents Registration Act, also known as FAR, is a United States law passed in 1938 Now you see at the same time, this is also part of the remedy. 1938 came in. We remember what came in the 1930s? Right. We've been talking about that. So this actually came in, requiring that agents representing the interests of foreign powers in a political or quasi-political capacity disclose their relationship with the foreign government and information about related activities and finances. Now, most of these people are getting money, are accepting money, campaign money, is what I've been seeing on the videos and stuff like that, just looking at videos and stuff like that. This ain't my own thing, but, you know, you can find it on YouTube. You know, you can look that stuff up. Black Caucus, everybody, you know, all these agents. What agents are accepting money from USA? Who are in alliance with China? You know, who's in alliance with the Chinese Communist Party? You can look all this stuff up. People talk about it all the time. So they must report this. You see? So it says the purpose is to facilitate evaluation by the government and the American people. The government and the American people of the statements and activities of such persons. But where's the American people coming into this? There is no such thing. This is all I'm trying to share with you. From my research, there is no such thing as the American people. There's within this system, how they changed everything, all the power of the people has been stripped. People want to act like there's power the people have. And this is what Mark Levin was trying to say. Well, if this happens, then this is going to be taken away. It's already been taken away. Everything that he named has already been done. More importantly, it's only been done to a certain people in a mass number, right? You say, well, it happened to these people too. At what level? This is what I'm saying. At what level versus me? And I say me, I'm talking for everybody else. This is me. It's my channel. It's might as well say me. See what I'm saying? On that level. All right. Now, this is the last part of well, I just want to give you some outlooks on things. Do your own research. If this is what you like to do. And if you hear us, I think this is what you like to do. Now, this title is in Securitized Home Mortgage Litigation Courts continue to wrestle with the arcane subject of promissory note allonges. Okay, so allonges. Guys, look that up. All right, securitized real estate mortgages continue to raise standing issues for secured lenders seeking to foreclose. Now, if you look right here, this is LexisNexis, 2017. So you know this is legit. Now, secured lenders seeking to foreclose, secured. Now, based on everything that I showed you so far, you're not going to find a secured lender. There's no such thing. This is an oxymoron. It's an oxymoron. Okay. Now, the cases illustrate how the law of negotiable instruments under the UCC, including the use of allonges to substitute for endorsements on the note itself, is crucial for determining standing. A recent decision from Ohio illustrates the point. The court holds that allonges may be paper clipped to the note without stapling. Therefore, the securitization trustee could foreclose on the mortgage. And in a recent case from Connecticut, the court okayed an allonge even though there was space for the endorsement on the note itself. See what I'm saying? Now, what they're saying right here is that the so-called lender is attaching. As soon as you're done and you transfer, you sign that thing over because it's endorsed in blank. Your signature is an endorsement. Without any specific instructions, they attach an allonge to it, which gives them the opportunity to securitize versus you being able to securitize it. Because if you attach the allonge, or if there's space, like he's saying on the mortgage, you can actually give the instructions there. Pay to the order of none your business. Pay to the order of J. Thomas. Pay to the order of whoever. That is an allonge. And you endorse it there, and you endorse it on the back. You can have it paid to the order of the United States Treasury. Let them handle it. See what I'm saying? Now, it says the Ohio case in Christiana Trust versus Barth, Carmen Barth signed a promissory note secured by a mortgage on her home. A promissory note secured by a mortgage on her home. Promissory note, mortgage. Two different things, note and mortgage. Damn, mustache is curling up. I hate when it does that. But it says, so that's key. I just want you guys to be clear. You think it's the same? So the promissory note secured by a mortgage on her home. So there's a mortgage and there's a promissory note. So that mortgage is actually considered to be the secured collateral, right? Because the promissory note is secured by a mortgage. Secured promissory note secured by a mortgage. So is the home the collateral or is the mortgage the collateral? It's the key. Let's see what they say. City Financial Mortgage was the original holder of the note and mortgage. So that means she did the transaction with City Financial Mortgage. So that means they were the holder of the note and mortgage. In 2013, as part of a securitization, City Mortgage, so this is 11 years later, City Mortgage sold the loan to Christiana Trust. Now, we dealt with Christiana. I dealt with them before. They gone now. They was doing all kind of stuff. Carrington Mortgage Services, followed by Selene Finance, acted as servicers. Following Barth's default, Christiana filed a mortgage foreclosure in 2014. The trial court ruled that Christiana has standing to foreclose. How? Let's see. The court rejected Barth's argument, and the plaintiff had not properly authenticated the chain of title to the note and mortgage. So Barth's argument is that plaintiff had not properly authenticated the chain of title to the note and mortgage, which they're supposed to do. That's UCC 9-210. Self-authenticated must be authenticated. And there's other things that must be done too under TILA. If you're calling yourself a lender and all you're doing is actually servicing, right? You bought the loan. Christiana Mortgage sold the loan to Christiana Trust. They did not buy it. They didn't initiate the contract. They did not do any transactions of extensions of credit or otherwise. And their signature is not nowhere on it. So how will they then become the lender, and how will Christiana Trust be able to foreclose? All right. So the original note was identified at trial by the servicer, a case manager at Selene Finance. He testified, perjury, all the way off the top, that he had personal access to the Barth loan file, lying, which contained the original note, and that he was familiar with it. But did he provide it? Let's see. He also testified See, he should already be arrested for perjury. He committed perjury. He said he's familiar. Yeah, personal access, but don't have it in possession. Where is it at? Where is it at? He also testified that Christianity Trust had possession of the original note and allonge on the date the foreclosure was filed, and that the copies of the note and allonge attached to the complaint were true and accurate copies of the originals. Copies of the note and allonge attached to the complaint were true and accurate copies of the original. Ms. Bart made no claim that the promissory note was not the one she signed. The court ruled that these documents supported by the servicer's testimony were adequate authentication. Now, see, this is the issue where we're dealing with the Chevron doctrine. Problem with the Chevron doctrine. And that other part of it. We see how the judge relied on that individual's testimony without providing a document. Nah, I don't want to see a copy. Just because you showed me a copy, I'm not saying. Just because she didn't argue the fact that wasn't her signature, still don't matter. That could be a copy. How do you know you own it? See what I'm saying? The allonge need not be stapled to the note. The key legal issue on appeal was whether the allonge was proper to complete the chain of title. Ms. Bart argued that an allonge must be permanently affixed to the note by stapling, and that the use of a paperclip was insufficient. In the present case, the evidence indicated that the lines were detached by a paperclip rather than by a staple. Okay. Okay. So, if endorsement, right? Endorsement, and we played some of the things earlier on the videos, and they had some pretty good stuff that they were saying. And you know, I don't know if you guys caught some of it, but it's very important on how we deal with our information and how we deal with these transactions. You know, the bottom line is that, you know they catch us in a situation where, you know, they put us in a position where we rely on them telling us the truth or being fully transparent when they're actually not. But this is the offer that they're making. The counter offer is the counter offer. Say, hey, all right, let me know everything that I need to provide and show me the law that tells me in order for me to get an extension of credit or consumer credit, and I will make those statements just like that I will not be, well, in order for me to get an extension of credit, that I have to provide these documents. Give me the law. Need it now. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, well, I need to get, nah, go on back there. Go to the VP of the bank, go to the underwriter. No, the underwriter's back there. There's an underwriter back there somewhere, originator. Go to the back, go get them, bring them up here and show me the laws where I must provide you all of this information in order to get an extension of consumer credit. Now, the other aspect of it is this. Consumer credit installment contract, retail sales installment contract. We're going to get into that tomorrow. But the game must slow down for everybody. You need to slow down, take your time, and ask the questions and dare them to say, well, we're not doing this transaction. Oh, really? Just because I asked for some disclosures? Because I asked for the law, the things that are to protect my consumer rights in these transactions. The only time you're a consumer is when you're doing these transactions. Even buying a pair of pants, bag of potato chips, those are all consumer transactions, and they're all taxable events. So you're denying me because I'm asking and I'm trying to express my rights, and I made a counteroffer, try to get a full and clear meeting of the minds on what I'm getting myself into. Because I don't want to be participating into some type of fraudulent activity that I might be getting into I don't know nothing about. Everything got to be above board. And we start there. You say, no, cool. Let me get your name, your business card, everything right now, and really get it off the top, because then they'll try to walk away from you and not give you anything. You dig? All right. So we'll stop right there. We into what we into this week: securitization, recoupment, consumer credit, retail installment contracts, everything that we're going to deal with on how to properly see what's actually taking place there.
All night.
Hey, look, I mean, it ain't did me no injustice approaching it this way. You know what I'm saying? No injustice. But look, the deepest thing that we need to do is understand some fundamentals. You know, the fundamentals can't be made too complicated. Can't be made too complicated. That's just how I look at it. And then we could get into the details of the details, because a lot of people don't understand this stuff. This is foreign. It's foreign. You know, and you know, we learning stuff every day ourselves, you know, so that's why I keep it like this, man. I know this ain't your cup of tea. You rather, you know, approach it a different way, but this is the only way I know how to get it done so I can keep the people's attention. You know.
Yeah. I don't knock that. I ain't knocking that. Keep their attention going.
Yeah. You know, I've done some outlandish stuff, I would say. And I think it's just because of the type of energy I put into it that ain't none of it ever came back on me. You know, it's a couple times I did stuff like people would say was wrong. I still got results. I would say, Nadi, I get communication from the cats. They talk to me. They holler.
They talk to me too. You're right, but they'll talk to you more if your status is in its proper form.
Yeah, that's true.
They willing to help you tremendously if your status is in proper form.
That's right.
So,
I mean, people need to understand that part. I mean, once you learn it and you put it in the right spot, can't be afraid to holler at these people. I think that's the problem. A lot of people don't want to holler them. They think it's the devil.
man, I didn't send notifications and see one thing the people them don't like for instance, your boy Root Word. Let me give you an instance, an example. Oh, you and driving 140 miles up the road with a Glock gun bigger than you, blah, blah, blah. And I was. But how I perform those things is not secretive. It's just a lot of uninformed. You check what I say. So you could write to the DOT, the DMV, the DMV of your state. You can write to these people and let these people know who you are and what you represent. The passport counselor, the things that individuals are not doing is not standing up and showing identification of themselves. Because watch it, bro. I've been telling the people for so long, hey, drop that citizen shit. You get more benefits when you drop it. Oh no, you stateless. Oh no, you man, how you gonna be stateless when we as Americans, you hold two identities? You do know this, right?
Yeah.
So The two identities is a national. Second identity is a citizen. The citizen is a second class. The Constitution was built or created behind the nationals for the representation where they had their inalienable rights, inalienable right.
Uh-huh.
That's right. And the people them not really catching on to that sight, man. I try to give it to them so many times, and I try to just, I don't know, handle the business where they're not your fiduciary. You're not moving in the site as a minor.
Right.
Everyone is moving as a minor. Once you give out notifications and once you obtain certain documents, the passport alone give you sight as you're an American nationalist to the USA. You hold an allegiance. You are Section 8, 1401 citizen. I mean, Title 8, Section 1401 nationalist, not citizen, nationalist by birth. But you guys keep going in, jumping into this community of the United States, and it's separate to you. It's a second class. It belongs working for you.
Yeah. Now, I know what you mean, but people don't know what that means. This is why, I mean, you know what I'm saying, though. This is why I attack it the way I do. We got to get that person out the way. That person, that citizen, we got to get that clear, and we got to be able to get it out the way. We need to find a way. Well, I'm finding a way to get to them to where they say, okay, I'm ready to listen now. All right, let's go to the back chat and let's talk about it. I'm going to show you how to get it out the way. This is how you move it and capture it, control it. But find out who you are by asking those people. And then if you just don't want to find out who you are, just tell them who you are not. But we got to do that, though. Get it out the way. And it's easy. I mean, people might think it's difficult. It's not difficult at all. It's pretty easy. You know. Only thing you're paying for is shipping and handling and ink and paper and some pens. You know what I mean?
Let me get in one time. Let me give another two clues. I'm gonna get two unique clues you have to achieve things. You have this such thing called a Privacy Act, 1974. Are we aware of this? Do we know the qualities of this Privacy Act and what it holds for a nationalist, not a citizen, a national? Okay, number two, and this is a cold one. This one here, man, I be so not afraid to give people shit because I am who I am, right? They can't take that away. Even though they want to discredit the way I sound or how I grow or what trial and tribulations I've been through. You trying to judge me, but yet you ain't learning, catching. We all here to learn and catch things from each other, like pollen on a bee. But anyway, let me go ahead and just give this jewel out. The most powerful thing that one has to stand on, documental, is the Ninth Amendment. I'm gonna repeat that. one of the most powerful documents in the world is the 9th Amendment. Once you know how to apply that and understand that with the Privacy Act, man, boy, look at it. But I ain't gonna hold you up, big bro. I'm gonna let these people get it for the night.
We want freedom by any means necessary. We want justice by any means necessary. We want equality by any means necessary. We don't feel that in 1964, living in a country that is supposedly based upon freedom and supposedly the leader of the free world, we don't think that we should have to sit around and wait for
all of your assets you have to protect it. To set your trust up, come get your status corrected. You know we moving more than mountains. Fuck your school, fuck your voting system, fuck your water fountains. Melanin, I know you heard of me. You can never murder me. I want that gold you owe me now and gold from 1933. I want y'all to stand on all the treaties that you sold to me. Cause we was already here, y'all came on a boat to me. And know this God-given land we all holding feet. Simple, absolute gratitude, your majesty. I shine not in my straw man, you not controlling me. Certified, signed, sealed, stamped by the notary. Don't try to lie to my face like you ain't just a colonist who tricked us with contracts, but you fail to acknowledge it. In history books of fertilizer, one big pile of shit. Acting like you freed us from slavery, but ain't abolished it. The plantation just got renovated. Driver's license and passports are the new slave papers. How they foreclosing on the ones they gave acres. We allowed them entry, even trusted them as neighbors. They took everything from us and made us ask for favors, and posed as the only helping hand that's there to save us. Boycott, don't try to keep up with the fad, cause the money that we save, the properties that we rehab. Monopoly with the fad. Tears don't fall from my eyes, cause they see our what, but they don't see our why. You was born in June, but I only seen July. Influenced by bad spirits like a DUI. You ain't do no estate planning, but you think you fly. Now we gon' need 3 fish fries to see you die. We the revolt, boy, don't play with me. The time is now, this royalty over slavery. Damn.
I got it.
I'm the coach, quotes coded in oath with a ghost loaded focus. Chrome in the coat, king with the cloak, smoking that hocus pocus. Infinite styles, pivot and pile up the mileage. I'm wild with the science. You see the line on my avatar, iron jaw pride. I to devour the silence. Why you niggas steady lying? Got me laughing hard, satire and fraud. I fire the squad. Wives get crossed when I'm sparring with all the guards. Author of art, carving a mark in the bark of the market at large. Target the sharks, heart of a Spartan. I sharpen the margin with bars. You rather bargain and dodge. I'd rather you come get your taxes done. Black suit, back room, facts in a stack. I'm relaxing the maximum. Get out of the pocket, the profit of rocket. Then I just might tax you punks. Bracket your funds, I'm stacking in chunks. Reacting to acid, you're begging a punch. Sometimes my community hard-headed, scarred, dreading the lessons. I chart head and start spreading the message, embedded in pressure. Sovereign living, I'm private with it. No corporate percentage. Discharging debt with a pen stroke. You still don't notice the vision. I've been telling y'all you don't want to debate me. Weighty and ready. Great with machetes, linguistically shredding the petty. Grab these 15 acres. Landscape major, plan made paper. Land patent stamped and sacred since my campaign greater. I ain't talking about Ice-T when I say that I can show you law and order. Court recorder, I sort the torture, contort the border. I eat the case, beat the state, leave a trace in a raw supporter. Briefcase aura, got your baby mama thinking that I'm a lawyer. Seminole Indian sentiment, militant on sovereign soil. Private enrollment, tribal component. I'm the boss if you're trying to employ it.